Hello everyone. This is SierraCast TV with our program globally, and today we have an important event here about the global pandemic that is going around. And today we have no one but Mary Apollo, who is a youth ambassador from South Sudan, and she's going to talk about the global emergency disaster that is going on, and that we have an event that's going to be on Thursday, which is on the 3rd. On Thursday, 3rd? On Friday. Friday going to be the 3rd or the 4th? On Friday the 3rd, which we're going to talk about the global emergency disaster. And today in SierraCast, we have Mary Apollo, who is the youth ambassador from South Sudan. Mary Apollo, welcome to SierraCast TV.
Thank you, Abdul, for having me in SierraCast TV, and would like to thank all the team for being in the studio today.
Yes, I know you have a global event that's going to come on Friday, and which is the Global Emergency Disaster Response Network. And Mary, can you please tell us what the organization is about?
So the Global Disaster Emergency Response Network, we are a group of youth from different parts of the world. We have a members of 2,500 global youth. We come together with the initiative that we want to fight the COVID-19, and we need to do some work to our community to save our life and save the future of our generation and the upcoming generation. So we come together, we unite ourselves, and then we move forward. We find some organization that sponsor us. We are doing the work right now under their umbrella. And then we have more than like 1,000 different organizations globally in the United States and in Africa and all over the world. So we are under all this organization, and we are doing the movement together.
Okay. So with this event, what about the general coverage and keynote speaker that's going to involve with this event? You have few to name?
So the press conference, we have an important press conference that is going to be online. We will broadcast it on SierraCast TV, and it will be on their Facebook page and YouTube page. Our main guest speaker is Dr. Ambassador, the former ambassador to the AU, Ambassador Arikana Kua. She's a medical doctor, and she has been an ambassador to the African community in the diaspora. So she will be covering the part of health. She's a medical doctor. She will be talking about health and how the COVID-19 is affecting the worldwide from the health perspective, and sending her message to the African youth and to the world to come together and fight the disease. And we have also Ambassador Fudai Mansouri, who is the International Human Rights Commission Fund and Trust representative to the United Nations, and he's an economist. He will be giving a presentation of the COVID-19 and the economic impact to the worldwide, and the way that we can move forward to save the world from facing these economic challenges. And we have Ambassador Malik Nadim. He's the Secretary General for the International Human Rights Commission Fund and Trust. So he will be a guest honor and also a speaker. He will be just covering for us the way we move forward and how we will be organizing and working together under these umbrellas, because there is a lot of challenges that's going under the ground. We have to address them, and we have to work to fight them, to come together to move forward.
Okay, so viewers, those you just joining us, this is SierraCast TV, And we have Mary Apollo, and she is the youth ambassador for South Sudan. And they have an important event coming up this week through the global pandemic that we're going through with the coronavirus. So they got educative program that is coming on. And Mary, can you tell us what is the date and time that you're going to get this your program live so um, people could connect and view this your very historic program that is going on globally in the world? What is the date and the time that this event gonna come on?
So the press conference will be live, as I mentioned, in SierraCast TV, Facebook and YouTube channel. The time is 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern time. And then we should be following we have different time zones in Africa and India. So depends on those time zones, each country will be able to join us and watch us.
This 10 a.m. is at Eastern time. So
Eastern
at least
time,
people
yeah.
gonna check out what the difference with their own time in the continent where they live, right?
Yeah, and then they can join the event. If they can join it live, is fine. If it's not fine, the link will be shared later on the website of SierraCast, and we'll be having in different platforms that they can go and watch it for those who doesn't have the access to internet. So it will be recorded and it will be available online.
Yes. So is this information that you're giving out globally? What is the last message you got to give out to youth around the world, that this is very important message to listen, because you got to get a different speakers and people globally who have experience in what is going on with the pandemic that is going around the world. So what is the last advice that you're going to give youth so that they could take this serious and make sure they log in when the program is on? You just want to give your last word to them that they should have a point of duty to log in and listen to this press conference?
So as I said, the COVID-19, it has been a hilarious pandemic for all the people around the world. So right now, everyone is getting affected with the COVID-19 in a different ways. So let me put it this way: like right now, we are facing a global challenge worldwide, like in all different parts of the world. And especially as youth, we have a lot of challenges that we are facing right now. Either is in education sector, in the economic sector, in the political sectors, there is a lot of human rights violation going right now under the attack, because most of this country, after they have issues, the distance space, there is a lot of human rights violation that is taken under the ground from different government or different institutions, that they are attacking these human beings to be insane inside. So, and the thing that a lot of these things, people are not coming out to talk about it in media and different platforms. So we are facing a huge problem, as I say, all around the world globally, in health, in economic, in education. And then there is a psychological effect also for different type of people. So all these challenges is going to affect our future and the upcoming generation as a youth. So it's time for us to come all together, to unite under one umbrella and to work together. We have to stop the impact of the COVID-19. We have to fight for our rights. We have to start organizing ourselves from right now and mobilizing our community. So we have to, the press conference is just the starting point of what we will be doing. We are coming together to address the problem from different perspectives, and we are going to get different messages. And then from there, we will come together and join ourselves and strategize and mobilize of of the way that we can go underground and work with our communities. Because at the end of the day, we want to reach our communities. We want to make change under the ground. So from here, we will be working together to make it happen. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have different participants from all over the world. So all those youth together, everyone in where they locate or where they live, will be working under one network to change the situation to the better, so that tomorrow we have a better place in where we live in. We don't want to end up in the future having the same challenges that we are having right now. Either it should be a health disaster, or in the economic disaster, something just will come up and shut us down, and like it's just making it difficult for us to move forward. So this is the time for us to come together and work together. And if you are not part of any movement that is working to fight for the COVID-19, please do so. Please unite together and let us work for a better future.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Before we go out, let just get a question from Amjad Galomiba. Yes, Amjad, what's the question?
Yeah, Mary? I was just gonna ask Mary, can you briefly talk about the different sponsors for this event?
Actually, we don't have, as I mentioned earlier, we are just a youth. We came together, like 2,500 youth. We came together, and we said we want to stop the pandemic that is going around the world and fight the COVID-19. There is some organization that they are agreed that they will be helping us doing the work under the ground and unite us. One of them is the International Human Rights Commission Fund and Trust. And we have the Global Future Network also. Team Project 54 and ADDI is one of the organizations that will be is sponsoring us. And we have our last sponsor is the Global. Yeah, so under this five organization, the event will be organized.
Oh, okay. And also, I know the coronavirus is kind of global. Do you think the impact will be greater on African youths compared to youths in other parts of the world? Or
sorry?
Do you think the impact will be greater on youth in countries that are not very developed?
You mean the effect or?
The effect of the COVID-19 virus. Do you think the impact will be greater?
It's actually, as you know, that we still have a lot of challenges in the continent. We have different kind of challenges. We have challenges of infrastructure in our country. We have kind of challenges of health sector, and there is a lot of people there in the continent who doesn't have access to sustainable health system or health care, and that's why it's going to, from my perspective, is going to be a challenge for us in Africa more than the developed country, because we still have the challenges of infrastructure, we have the challenges of the health care system, and the education part also. That's why we have to work together as a youth to do the part of raising awareness and education to our community under the ground.
I think Dr. Daniel just joined us. I don't know whether he wants to say something.
Thank you so much for having me.
We can't see your video though.
So what I want to say that we have this challenge, but we can work together and fight it and make a better place, and we can work it.
Okay. Is Dr. Daniel still there?
Thank you so much for having me.
You upside down?
Oh, sorry. Is it okay now?
You're still upside down.
Is this okay?
Right there, yep.
Yeah, you're okay now.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And on behalf of the coalition, just like Mary has said, we want to thank your platform. Your organization is also helping and is part of the global collaborative partnership that we need to get the message across to vulnerable community. You asked a very important question that she was trying to highlight. We now discover that because of the sudden disruptive nature that the virus is causing, it is making world leaders in a hurry close down or shut down in a bid to contain the spread. By doing that, we discovered that some human rights abuses are currently going on. I'll give you an example. There are some West African countries where the police force or the administrators that have been given the responsibility to enforce the lockdown are beating up helpless citizens within their region. Yes, we know that the coronavirus is not something that any of the African country has caused, but now that it has come to stay, whatever laws and whatever rules we are putting must have human faces. So as young people, we're trying to tell our young colleagues just like us, stay at home for now. Pending the time we understand more about this virus, we get to know and we get to develop our healthcare system, which before now has not really taken stronghold. You do understand that what the coronavirus has done for the African continent is expose the fact that over the last 20 to 30 years, we've not been forthcoming about addressing poverty, about addressing hunger, about ensuring good healthcare systems. So the coronavirus has explored all those loopholes of us not fulfilling sustainable development, those kinds of development that can help provide basic needs for people, at the same time, take them to a place that can make the world slightly better.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor. I really appreciate the statement that you mentioned, and which Mary mentioned too, and you mentioned about the human rights abuses that is going on right now in West African countries. An example for my own country, we could mention about Sierra Leone, and we know the lay people went down in the morning, they went down to go in the market and sell. At the end of the day, what they profit is what they come and feed their family with. And so how comes they're going to beat people to go home with a lockdown? And also Mary spoke about the economic damage that's going to cause, and the health damage that it's going to cause too with this lockdown Africa going on with. But I do believe when we come on to a conference on Friday globally with youth around the world, you guys going to put measures that are going to stop these people, what they are doing to the people globally regarding this COVID-19, because it's like a lot of abuse is going on in Africa, which we're not seeing in the Western world. So since Doctor, you joining us lastly, what is the last message you got to give to people? Yes, or whatever you're going to say again about this before, let's continue before we close up, Doctor, because you just joined us.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, we want to thank the SierraCast TV for creating this platform for people to really express and for us to share to the world that in as much as we understand that we need to stay at home and stay safe, we are pleading on some countries, especially African governments. There has to be a central way we put a human face to this. Yes, there will be a lockdown, but we must also put in place a simple basic machinery that can address the issue of poverty, that can address the issue of people's basic needs for the 14 days. It is not enough for you to lock down your country, knowing fully well that 70% of Africans live in less than $1.25. So, and bulk of the people that you are shutting down need to leave their house to go out for their livelihood and return back. So while we understand that life is very important, only those that are alive will end up having businesses. Only those that are alive can go out and come back. We must also learn to put a human face to what is going on. So my message to all the young people out there, this is a time for us never to be like our fathers. people that have put us in this same situation where we are right now, where Africa in itself are receiving donations to sustain themselves, whereas ab initio, all these things should have been in place. It is time for us to show leadership now. As young people that are more smarter, let us obey constituted authorities. These are not the time for us to protest. These are not the times to disobey. We must learn to be better versions of ourselves. We must learn to be very innovative. Yes, thank you so much. It's important that we learn to be innovative. So we know this is a virus. So all our young people who are studying virology, all our young people who are doctors, all our young people who are engineers, especially those of you that are into mechanical kind of engineer, these are the time to use your innovative ideas to try and address and solve issues. And I'll give you an example. Sorry, before I go. 4 young people in Nigeria discovered that they could help repair the ventilator machines in some hospitals that have existed since the 80s, and that they can work with it, and with a little contribution from hospitals personnel on what they want, they were able to renovate 8 ventilators. One ventilator cost about $20,000 to $40,000, and they were able to repair old ventilators. So it takes young people who are able to use the skills and the knowledge that they have. This should be lessons we should learn from coronavirus. Yes, it's a bad thing, but it also has exposed the fact that we must start becoming Africans again. We must start electing great leaders again. Our leaders need to put a human face. It is time for you to have leadership. And I know, God willing, Africa will rise again. And young people are committed to work with every single African leader. We're also reaching out to African Union. This is the time to centralize messaging. Get all our African leaders, the 55 of them, those outside the African zone, get them to sit down and do the same thing and just replicate or do some adjustments considering their peculiarities. It's time for us to pool our resources together and work as one and speak as one. Thank you, SierraCast TV, for this opportunity, and we look forward to having all of you tomorrow, sir.
Okay, yes, Doc, I know you want to go, but just touch on this a little bit for me before you go.
Go ahead, anything you want.
In the United States right now, since they know that this pandemic is going on, they are already putting measures in place for small businesses and people who are employed. So you think like in Africa, they have those ideology or thinking of helping people out who their business is going down, or people who are unemployed to reboost them after this pandemic is taken away from the globe?
Yes, you are perfectly right. In short, you have summed up some sensitive issues that people are not addressing. We call this the post-COVID infection situation. Yes, currently, as the virus is going on, all businesses have been disrupted. Smart countries and smart nations started doing fast things. For instance, those that were not going to work, or those that stopped work for the last 4 weeks, no rent will be paid. Light will not be cut off. And for citizens that, like US citizens that are here, tax waivers have been given, and even special funds will be sent to them every 4 weeks as the infection continues. Now, the challenge we have in Africa is this, that most of our leaders, especially this class of leaders that are currently president, really have not done us the best things. You do remember that the issue of this COVID virus had started since around December ending. And then by January, it was expected that at least African Union should have summoned emergency meeting to know what is going on. As at January, it was already becoming an epidemic. Mm-hmm. And it was having the quality of a pandemic. By pandemic, we mean there's a propensity for it to spread across all borders, irrespective of your religion, your faith, your gender, or whatsoever. Now, when those facts were gotten in January, African Union were briefed because they have representative in the WHO. Somebody is an observer in the WHO for African Union. What did you do? So, like I said, the lesson we need to learn is this, that if we have taken the Sustainable Development Goals serious, the goal that says that we must actively fight to eradicate poverty, that whenever you sign a contract to build an infrastructure, at that core of that money, how many percentage of this money will go into alleviating poverty? How many percentage will go into basic education? How many percentage will go into addressing hunger? How many percentage will go into sanitation and health? How many will go into newer ways of generating energy? How many will create decent jobs? How many decent jobs will be created? How many of all these things we are doing will address the issue of advancement, innovation? How many will address climate change? How many will change the way we have been handling our lands, where we have portioned lands only to wealthy people and leave subsistence farmers away? So all these viruses has done is open up a new smart way for us to know that we have not done well by ourselves. So I totally agree with you and to our viewers out there that the sole responsibility of any government, any African leader, is to ensure life, security, provide basic health. We're not even talking about advanced health here. Basic health. So we are praying and we are hoping that as we continue to gather around and as we continue to raise awareness and then taper down misinformations on some of this coronavirus spread, they say it's not working. They say it doesn't affect the African continent. These are just because our people do not understand so much. And you do know that when people do not have knowledge, some of the consequences are you perish or you make ill-informed policies, or you do what we call copy and paste. Because every advanced nation in Europe is shutting down. They forgot that those advanced nations shutting down had give pre-information beforehand. They have gone to their parliaments to get relief and stimulus packages so that it will be enshrined in their law, and so that every single person, every bona fide citizens of that respective country will get it. So we hope that this COVID issue will lay to rest once and for all. That it's time that leaders begin to emerge, that people and citizens begin to know the caliber of people that can help them, because our fears are this. This is not the end of pandemic. This is just the beginning of so many other arrays of issues to come. However, if we are built resilient, by building resilience, we mean if we are built the capacity to be able to withstand another pandemic and function to at least to some percentage, we will not have a total shutdown or a total collapse of the entire economic fabrics that we have right now. So you are very right that there should be and there must be stimulus given to every single citizen or every single person on the continent. We know it's going to be challenging. And again, this also goes to our citizens. It's not enough to blame your leaders. Mm-hmm. You are almost deserving of the kinds of leaders you get. It is time for you to be more active. This is not a time to be very passive. It doesn't concern me. One man, decision of one man to lock down your country can affect you for the next 14 days. So whoever you're going to give that responsibility in a time like this that requires smart thinking, in a time like this that requires being selfless, it is very important.
Okay. So Dr. Daniel, we lost your video. I don't know what's going on.
I think it's fine. Yeah, so I want to add, he mentioned and he covered the whole part of the problem itself in Africa. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying that we as a youth right now, we come up to the table with the alternative that we have. The thing that we think is a solution for the situation. So we should not only wait for the governments to come and provide these services. It's time for us youth to create opportunities for ourselves. We, as you know, we are in the continent, we have been facing the different issues, problem of employment, lack of opportunity of training. So it's time for us youth right now, we come and we bring these things on the table. We are fighting right now to create a new opportunity for ourselves. So not just we should be in the government sector. We have options to be in the different sectors. We are going to be organizing ourselves to be in the private sectors, the civil society. We will be having people in the entrepreneurship. So in the future, when a problem like this happens, we'll be having alternative, and we are not just going to be stuck and we're looking in their house. And some people, they can provide their daily needs. There is a lot of women there in most of the countries, and like South Sudan, a lot of women, they are working in the market to provide the meal for their families and to sustain their small families, their children, their kids. Right now, their life is stopped because they can't go out. So they can't afford it, they can't put food on the table. So it's time for us right now to create this movement. So in the future, when a problem like this happen or when something happen, we will already be having our sustainable equipment, and we will be able to manage it and using the resources that we have in Africa.
So
Yes, and Mary is very right. So that's one of the reasons why we are having this discussion and the meeting for tomorrow. We are bringing all the finest minds across the world. We are saying there has to be a way we have like a committee, like a network of group of people, like a hub, where people are prepared for times like this. So today is coronavirus. We don't know what lies ahead. But the next time we're going to have any kinds of issue, of course, we're not praying for that, but we must always be prepared for a time when these kinds of things will crop up. So we don't have to shut down the entire. People already know what they need to do. So the movements we are trying to build are a movement of young people who are the future, to be able to create hubs of innovative thinking ideas that can prop up. For instance, there are many kids that will not be going to school in Sierra Leone. Who is going to take care of them? They should be able to go to school. There are online platforms as I speak in New Jersey where I am. Laptops were given to all kids in my daughter's school, and every day by 12 noon, a 1-hour update is given by my daughter's class teacher, and it's a government school. So these things can be done. We're not saying we need to do it on a big scale, but the modalities are not that hard. So this goes to show that we need partnership from private sector to come on board to allow internet access that can help us get to our African kids, to kids in India, to kids across the world, pending the time we resolve these issues. So we are very, very grateful that your platform, it's indeed a wonderful platform for us to have this engagement and this discussion. And there's one quick thing before I want to say. It's time that Africans begin to define who a true African is. A true African is not only the person that stays in that continent. For me, a true African is that individual who is willing to ensure the continuous survival of a culture that identifies you as a contributing factor to global development. All I want to do and be known as an African is I contributed towards making the world slightly better, rather than I am from this ethnic group, I am from this religious group, I am from this country. I just want them to know that as a Black man, I'm entitled to contributing to making the world better. And the best time to do this kind of things are times like this, when there's so much chaos, there's so much anarchy, but you can also provide little guidance and inspire young people to start to look inward, to finding and identify simple problems that can resolve and make us better.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
So one last question that I have for you.
Yes,
sir. During this time when we have these kind of pandemics, we will have countries donating to Africa.
Yes, sir.
Like huge sums of money, and there are times when those money are misappropriated.
That's true, sir.
Is this something you guys are thinking of, like educating youth what to look for?
First, I must really thank you. I wish this interview stays long because you are raising very important things. And these are the issues that we have. Being transparent. You see, pandemic exposes a lot of things. If before now you have not been a transparent country, whether you are in Asia, whether you are in Africa, it will be difficult for you. It will be difficult for you to be able to dispense and judiciously administer. So we suggested, the coalition of young people are suggesting that government especially should have like a central purse. Should have a central purse and have a catalog of where all these donations are coming from, who is being donated to, and put somebody in charge who will give updates to their respective people as just normal update or as just normal reports on a weekly, on a monthly basis. We are also advising that African Union should also equally set up a committee that can also harmonize and synchronize all the donations that are being done. And we're also begging our Western country, and we're also begging other advanced nations that when all these are done, we really need to sit down and begin to see how we can divert more funding to issues that can empower and address poverty, rather than us spend $14.2 trillion on wars that have not led us to anything. And it's clear that we are the cause of most of our problems. And if we must ensure this pandemic goes away, proper transparency and accountability will be done. In short, I am suggesting, along with some of our members, that the United Nations set up a pandemic council. A pandemic council that will not be advisory to the United Nations, that will not be advisory to WHO, but on their own, they will be looking out for countries and be studying countries that have the propensity to have this pandemic. Because from the way and the record we have, we've had other pandemics before now. We've had the MERS virus. We've had a SARS virus before now. This is a SARS-like virus, but it's called the COVID-19. And all of them has been in the space of between 9 to 10 years. 2001, from 2001, we had another one in 2012. Then from 2012, we're having another one in 2020. Yes, it's 20, it became a pandemic, but it's in 2019 it has started. So there seems to be like a frequency on it. So it means that it is high time that not only the UN, Africa set up like a committee or a council that will be monitoring not only even pandemic, epidemic issues too, with the view of, putting money into research. Because I also will suggest that all this money will not only be just pumped into trying to mitigate. We should also be looking at research. We should also be looking at empower and strengthening our testing or our diagnostic centers. Africa should have its own CDC that can analyze and synchronize so that whatever is coming, we know what it is. We keep our own data too. So I totally agree with you. And I think it's a very good observation that all this donation giving, it is very fundamental that this donation goes to people. And I also want to make a little modification even on the donation, that a percentage of this donation should go directly to the people, because this is where the challenge used to be. When this money comes, before now, money have always been spent on budget in every African country, and still the money doesn't get to the people. So now that we're having this special donation, how are we so sure it will be the same? So these are the things that Africans after this time, global citizens after this, I need to sit down and decide the kinds and calibers of people that they put into position, since we know that we are in perilous times now. And of course, like a strong believer of the faith, we should do all we need to do, but we also need to be more humanistic. Let us pray to our respective faiths, and let us hope that we pass through this only if we are together, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Daniel. Mary Apollo, go ahead.
Yeah, so you want to mention something? I agree with what he said and what he suggests. The thing that we use right now are coming together to say that we need the system where we have the good governance, but we are not going to spend too much time blaming and like saying if the government did that before, this should have not be happened. Right now we are moving to a next step. We are coming with our agenda and with our strategies. We are planning. We are in a stage of planning. We have all these natural resources. We are going to use the natural resources to put future measurements so that we can prevent if there is something happening in the future. We'll be having, instead of going outside and ask for donation and mobilize the international community, we are trying to make our own continental sustainable resources that we can depend on the future in case there is something happening, or in case we are moving through other agenda in the future, and we will be deciding that as youth.
Okay.
Yeah, and sorry, Mary is right. As part of our contribution, we are also creating a video documentary that we hope will come out between now and next week. It will be in respective languages, common languages in Africa, in Asia, in the US, in Europe, in French, because we have French-speaking African, we have French-speaking people across Europe and in some parts of Canada. Now, the video is going to tailor on the messaging, on the kinds of things that we can do personally and what we should do to help our respective governments. Mary has been a very wonderful coordinator for us. We're also looking at how we can liaise with other people to donate and ship back once they open the trading network or or the transportation network to ship back simple gloves, simple hand sanitizer, the much that we can, back to hotspots or countries within the continent or countries in vulnerable community that really need them the most. But like what you said and like what Mary has said, only when we work together can we make things better. For now, it is all hands on deck, but we should also have at the back of our mind that post-COVID, we need to sit down together and start to talk and become like true Africans that we are.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Daniel. Viewers,
thank you, sir.
Those who are viewing, we just talked to Mary Apollo, who is the youth ambassador from South Sudan. And we also talked to Dr. Daniel, who is the co-founder and CEO for Project 54. And this youth that came together, and they call them, it's like a global emergency disaster response network. And they have to get a conference call on Friday, and then they will debate a lot of things about the COVID-19, which involve youth from the globe. And then today they just give an intro about what they're gonna come about, and we thank you very much, Dr. Daniel,
thank
and
you so
also
much, sir.
Mary Apollo, who is the youth ambassador from South Sudan. And we get onto Nabak viewers, we get onto you guys on Friday, and when these guys are going to get their huge conference globally, we're going to involve a lot of speakers around the globe. We thank you very much, and this is SierraCast TV, and please keep on. We post you up on what we're going to come out with on Friday, and we'll give you the time. Is going to be like 10 a.m. Eastern time. You're going to log in to SierraCast TV on Facebook, and then you're going to get exactly from the Global Emergency Disaster Response Network from youth around the globe. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.